Good morning. Morning, MC. Isaac, how are you, brother? Good morning. Hope you guys had a super nice weekend. Sailor is indeed having a good time. Well, so am I. I'm Long Ibit, so I'm having a good time. Yeah, things are acting so well right now. It's really can't be negative. CLMT. Okay, so this does have a nice little series of higher lows here, but you got a few small little hiccups. One, it's not really established above the 200 simple moving average. It's just trying to get through it now. And then two, it's not the most liquid name out there. Specialty chemicals. It's in a pretty good group, I guess. Is this fertilizers or something? No, agricultural inputs. Agricultural inputs. Okay, so CLMT is specialty chemicals, Calumet. Not exactly sure what they do. Products, base oil, specialty oil, solvents, esters, waxes, fuels, and asphalts. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are better like names I feel like in this group. It's not bad, but who's the big players here? LIN. Yeah, LIN's got like the exact same chart, kinda bigger base. Holy cow, that's a big base. SHW, ECL, DuPont, PPG. Yeah, you know what it is with Albemarle and UE. You know what it is with CLMT? Their group's not so great. Their group's just kind of, you want to be in a group that is pumping. That's what you want to be in. If the group, if like, you look through like the 10, 15 biggest names in the group and they all kind of just look like, I shouldn't get you too excited. Then you're looking at a stock that moves 1.9% a day. So CLMT moves a little bit faster, actually, almost 5% a day. But not very liquid. Trades only $25 million a day, and then hardly above its 200. And the group is just kind of, it's not that special. Then, then what kind of makes you assume it's going to make a special move? And then finally, maybe looking at their earnings and sales, and those also kind of suck. I'm not even kidding. They don't have accelerating earnings and sales at all. Their group ranks are getting a little bit better. Well, I think last week, it was good to get yourself positioned in IBIT. If you weren't, I think it was a pretty obvious. It was a pretty obvious flat base setup. I bought it twice last week, and now I'm being gifted with a second gap up. Friday was the first gap up. Now we got ourselves a second gap up. So I think, just kind of continuing to keep an eye on the crypto sector. I think silver and gold look pretty interesting. I am kind of just watching gold come down right now. So, and we'll see. The daily looks fine. The daily potentially looks ready to break out as well. It's not very crowded. Silver's a bit more crowded, but silver continues to hang in there. I thought when we were in the, down here, I thought silver could go to 40. Well, we basically got there, but I don't think that this move is entirely done. So we'll see. Oil and gas stocks continue to act really well, but I don't really see any super clean setups there. They just kind of continue higher. But you look at XOM and you look at a weekly. This thing is a huge base. So, if and when this thing starts busting out of this base, my guess is oil and gas will be doing pretty damn well. And then kind of CVX is the similar deal, just giant base. So, maybe they need a little bit longer. I'm not sure. Yeah, Lithium. I saw Albemarle a few weeks ago, ALB. Steel names are trying to start to. Yeah, this ALB is just way too far down there. ALB is not even anywhere near an uptrend yet. Lithiums of America, not that special, still below the 200. PLL, Piedmont, kind of looks like, yeah, these all look like Nana. These are just, they're not ready yet. Aluminum looks better. CENX came up on my radar this weekend when I was scanning. Look at that pickup in volume above the 200. Bigger base, already uptrending 200. Tried to break below and it's just hung out above. So I think CENX looks better. That's aluminum. But then I look at Alcoa and this thing just kind of sucks, So I just want to make sure that I'm in a good group, right? My best trades come when they're in good groups. Like when I bought ARC, no arguing with price, just above the 200, nice little flat base above a breakout, and I'm buying the breakout. IBIT, same deal, just buying the breakout. Very simple. CCL, same deal, just, buying the high volume close, buying the breakout. It's much easier. Buying the breakout in a group that's acting well is much easier than just assuming price is going to eventually get above the 200 and money has to rotate here because money rotates. And I don't want to think like that, honestly. You can be stuck in a downtrend for a really long time. Just look at solars, look at lithiums. So, yeah, SMR actually looks pretty decent. Yeah, not terrible. FTI. Yeah, very nice. It's just a bit slow, right? I already got 2 ETFs in my portfolio that are a bit slow. But let me take a peek here. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, silver's interesting. Silver, if it can hang in there, looks pretty interesting. I bought AG on Friday. So, we'll see if this thing chooses to hang in there. You had a small little gap up overnight. So we'll just see what the hell's going to happen with this one. So Sedge, yeah, I like that they bottomed on bad news, but I don't think they're ready just yet. Yeah, this isn't enough digestion. It's not that, I mean, I'm sure it could keep going, but I want a little bit more digestion after 100% move, right? One down day doesn't count as digestion in my book. But I do like the little, if you look at like a 60-minute chart, it's building out a pretty nice flag. Whoops. So, can it get going in a few more days? Build another series of higher lows? Could be good. PAAS was fine too. I just liked AG a bit more. Has moves a bit faster, so you can see the difference here. So on your 20-day ADR, AG moves 5.22%. PAAS moves 2.97. Call it 3%. So that's why, right? And they're both super liquid. In fact, AG trades even more dollar volume, right? Over a 20-day period, PAS trades 141 million. AG trades 213 million. So not only does AG trade more dollar volume per day, meaning I could actually get more size onto it, it also moves faster. So those are two. So, if I have to pick how am I supposed to move the needle in my portfolio? Well, the way I'm going to move the needle in my portfolio is either with position sizing and how quickly the stock moves. So this one's got both of two better attributes than PAAS. So therefore, I want to be in that one. Yeah. Now I chose IBIT. I could have gone with BitX, but I took more than enough size in IBIT. So we made up for the fact that it's not hauling ass, but they both work just fine. Yeah, I trade small mid caps too. I trade it all, man. I trade long, I trade short, I trade small caps, I trade mid caps. I focus on theme. I think about sector rotation. I try to do it all, man. I just study from some of the, people that I think are some of the best traders and just kind of emulate it and fit it to my personality and my style. But there's always something to trade out there if you just understand why it's happening, where you're wrong. There's always something to do on either side of the market. But I just don't try to do things that are outside of my comfort zone. Yeah, MU looks fine. It's in a great group, in my opinion. My only fear, kind of, with MU, and I don't know why this is gapping down, is these software stocks have started to go down, and I don't know if that eventually translates into semiconductor stocks going down. I don't know, but I do want to be careful about that. What are my thoughts on PTHL? I tell you, it hasn't come up on my radar. That's why. It trades $15 million a day. No, this is I don't know that it'll be similar to OST. I have no clue. I think the one that'll be similar to OST will be PCLA, but I don't recommend people trade these if they're not comfortable with them. I already own CCL, so ideally, you know, this thing just kind of continues to chop around and go sideways here and let the 20 catch up. That's kind of my hope. But I am trimmed up on it, so there's not really a ton left for for me to do. You know, if we take out like prior day high, I could treat this as a higher low setup, but we'll see. Plug, it could be a nice theme with the renewables, but it's been a dog for forever. Right? This thing's been a dog. Like, I don't really care to own shit that's been acting like this for a long time. Let it get above the 200. Let it, you know, set itself up properly above the 200, you know, like some nice kind of base. It's like ARC, right? Think about ARC. For the longest time, this thing's under the 200, and really even before that, you know, it had just been kind of in a downtrend, then just chopping around. And then eventually you get above and you get this really nice sideways pivot. What do I think about GE? They've been in an uptrend for a while. This is too, I mean, you know, you got a series of higher lows here. You got like a nice little flat pivot, but I don't know. It's not exciting. Moves 2.2% per day. First place I noticed GE was down here. It's just been slow, super slow. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a series of higher lows on the daily. I really should have also bought RCL. I had RCL, you know, on watch right in here. Same time that I had VIK, Viking. I had this on the watch list as well. And but instead I just went with CCL because they had the gap up on earnings, and then they gave a high volume close setup. So it was like a very easy setup to get myself positioned in. And yeah, it was just a very, very simple setup that I understand, that I trade often. So really no real guesswork required where I would buy it. And, you know, it was nice and tight to low of day. So I was able to put on, you know, really healthy size too. Guys, 2 seconds. I'm going to make another quick coffee. Yeah, SMR looks pretty good. NBIS, yeah. Yeah, it looks all right. It's a nice gap up this morning. I'm not sure if there was news here or what, but it's gapping up quite a bit this morning. after Goldman Sachs initiated coverage and a buy rating and a $68 price target. Yeah. I think this is just a random gap up that I don't really chase. Let it set up. I hate chasing stuff up on like price target news. Yeah, SMR looks pretty good. No, I don't care for BMNR. This thing trades like total dog shit. I mean, why would I care about a stock that was just at 160 bucks and can fall all the way to 40? No thanks. By the way, they're trading still at in such a stupid premium to the Ethereum that they would ever hold. So, you know, own this crap at your own risk. No thanks. You got Tom Lee just laughing his way to the bank. JKS, another Chinese solar. This one will move with like DQ. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This thing's just too illiquid. Can't do it just yet. There are others that I'd prefer to own. HSAI, yeah, this one's interesting too. Super earnings estimates going forward. Little sloppy. Whoops. Cool. Yeah, a little sloppy. Yeah, AOI recently got above the 200. Not doing anything wrong. My view on Hinge, Jim Cramer did say buy. It's just, yeah, it's fine. Looks like a little flag here, but Jason, I always got those on watch, man. I'm ready for the next one always. Qfin, very nice. Yeah, big base on Qfin. Rare earths. I saw the move in MP last week. I just thought it was just too insane. No, it's not for me. And I wasn't going to chase the gap up either. And if you did, you'd basically be owning something at flat right now. So RGC looks like a scam. You got that right. Yeah, Mikey, I don't have it shared on like my X page or anything like that. I have it shared in my resource room in the room, but you're talking about my ADR tabs? Oklo. Yeah. Oklo needs to get moving here. DE earnings this week. This thing's such a slow mover. Weekly on this thing looks awesome though. CEG looks great. CEG looks just fine. It's a bit of a laggard to the stocks in its group, but it does look good. Redwire. Redwire, interesting. Yeah, who knows what this one ends up doing. Jumia. Yeah, just so thin, man. I don't trade anything that's, sub 50 million. I have no real opinion on banks' earnings. We just go ahead and gauge the reaction after it's happened. Right? There's never any reason at all for you to be like, oh, banks' earnings can't do XYZ. No, it's like, you just take your normal trades. Yeah, I'm going to sell just a little bit more on my IBIT. But, if the move's just getting started, I don't want to sell too much. I'd rather just trail. It depends what I own. If I've owned it from much lower, then I can hang out in it. If I'm looking to buy it and we've got like 4 days until earnings, then I don't touch it. SoFi a little bit extended. Yeah, it is. And I own this thing at like 14 and a half, which kind of hurts. But it shook me out on the 13th. Keen to hear my thoughts on PENG. Kind of a liquid, kind of a random chart. Look at how shitty this thing has traded for the last 2 years. I don't know what group they're in. Information technology services. You got ACN, IBM. I mean, the group for the most part's not acting all that great, like the biggest companies in the world. I mean, I don't know. Seems a little random. Yeah, Unity had a really nice breakout a few days ago. Levi up on earnings. I saw that. Bull's a turd. A stock that does this is shitty. It's not my opinion. It's the opinion of institutions. If it were any good, it wouldn't have done that. It would have been accumulated higher. Let it tighten up a little bit more, but PSIX is starting to look pretty dang good. Let it tighten up a little bit more. This is a huge move already, though. Goodness gracious. In a year, this thing is up like 2,000%. Super, super move, man. Holy cow. ADR is massive. Yeah, Google looking better. Amazon looking all right. ASTS. Yeah. We'll see what this thing chooses to do. Ideally, the 50 catches up a little bit more before it decides to go. UMAC offering. Oof. Yeah, Amazon already broke out. I mean, I don't know that it already broke out. It's just right at this little pivot here. Yeah, Levi could potentially be a high volume close. Ideally, I don't want to trade stocks with, lower than 280R, but who knows? Who knows what's too slow for some people. For your grandparents, they want 280R. For us, maybe we want 4 or 5. No, I look to enter high volume closes right away, so long as I've got a clear defined low so that I can risk off of that day. That's more important to me. Nike. No. Let it show more strength. You've had one little gap up on earnings and then you've done nothing. I mean, this chart's been a super disappointment. And again, whenever you look at a chart too, look at its friends in the group. If the friends in the group also act like shit, then you remember this, burn this into your brain. All right. I'm going to say something and I want you to burn this into your head. Half of a stock's price appreciation is directly linked to the group it's in. I'll repeat, half of a stock's price appreciation is directly linked to the group it's in. Has nothing to do with its earnings and sales, has nothing to do with its technical setup, has nothing to do with anything other than the fact it's in a good group. Okay? In 2023, when all semiconductors were going up and parts of 2024, even the most dog shit semiconductor companies were going up. Why? Because all semiconductors were going up. There you go, lumberjack trader. Stocks and friends. Or group and friends. All right? Half of a stock's price appreciation is directly linked to the group it's in. If the group is getting love, even the most shittiest of the stocks within the group tend to go higher. If you bought UMAC on Friday, then you're just getting hit with an offering. Nothing you can really do there. But this is why I really don't buy companies that don't make any money. Because then this is what the hell happens. Biotech's also a pretty big group, but it also applies. It also applies. If you were in a real, here's the problem, Barack. When's the last time biotech as a group, XBI, has actually been in a stage 2 uptrend? Not since 2021. So it's been in a downtrend ever since. It's typically low. My stops are typically low of day. My stops are almost always low of day. How about UPST? How about it? Nice move, needs more digestion. And it's gapping down $5 this morning. For what reason, I have no idea. I personally don't care what reason. I wouldn't have bought this anyway. This needs more sideways. Super extended from the 50, up about 40% at yesterday's Friday's close. 7-8 times its average true range from the 50. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, it just needs more digestion, right? Nice move up off the lows. Now, where's the consolidation for you to buy it? No. Arrow recent IPO. Nah, no thanks. I don't like trading these recent IPOs. Honestly, I just let them go without me. If they're really, really meant to go higher, right, they'll end up going higher in time. I didn't need to buy, NVIDIA on the first day it IPO'd, or the first week, or the first month, or the first year. You can still do really, really well. Yeah, I like Google. It's got to get going over that little flat pivot. It's got a really, really nice flat pivot. If it can get going over that level, I'd be pretty interested. Man, that aerospace and defense sector has been amazing. Aerospace and defense has been awesome. I had KTOS on the watch list down here in the 30s. It was the same thing with DRS. Yeah, same thing with HWM. Same thing with the KRMN recent IPO. Yeah, these things have been, the group has been awesome. Yeah, nah, no thanks, man. Too thin. You don't want to be in stocks that one person can move. You want to be in institutional quality names. There's nothing institutional quality about that one. How do I screen for the strongest groups? Okay, so the first thing I really like to do is I just like to scan, right? I just want to figure out what like where are the nicest setups in the market. Once I find the nicest setups in the market, I say to myself, are these things related in any way? Right? Because if they all look nice technically, and then I realize that they're all in a similar group, I notice that they all look nice because institutions are accumulating them. Right? So that's the first thing. But you've got a few resources at your disposal, right? FinViz is a free one, and you can look at your groups and industry groups and then go to like 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and just figure out what's in the top half on those lists. And then you can add filters to them. They have to be above the 200. They have to be above the 50. If they're above the 20, even better. Look for stocks that have made like 100, or really, I like 70% move off the lows, right? Stocks will go up like 70%, and then they'll just consolidate, and then they go higher, right? So you normally haven't missed any. Sometimes you could even go a little bit lower. And then, you can add like some technical, or you can add some fundamental filters. So good earnings and sales, accelerating earnings and sales, 20% quarter over quarter. And you could just start to like whittle down your list until you're onto a group or groups that are acting well. The best stocks go up, then they go sideways, and then they go up some more. And that's what they do. When Nvidia went from like 160 to 500, it wasn't up too much. In fact, once it went sideways for 5 months, it only tripled from there. I appreciate that, Darius. Thanks, man. I'm already sitting here in the morning, so might as well be useful, right? Help out. But yeah, B, your job is to don't guess. Like, and here's a really simple filter. Put a 200 simple moving average on your chart. If it's below the 200 simple moving average, don't look at it. Some people will some people will like look at a chart that's gone down too much and they'll just be like, oh man, this thing is eventually going to go. It's gotten too cheap. The reason it's going down and it's gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper is because the people who can move it don't want it, which is institutions. So that's always like the first thing. So that's always like the first thing that kind of comes into my mind. Make sure that the stock is above the 200. Like no massive move in stock market's history has ever taken place below the 200. All the biggest moves in the world take place above the 200. So that should be like your first filter criteria. But you'll notice that like stocks set up together and move together. And a really good example of this recently was the banking names, right? So you had a JP Morgan, and by the way, I got stopped out of this one, but I owned it right here. What I thought was coming out of this little small kind of cheat base, right? And so as it was happening, I was like, man, you make a move up, you've got a series of higher lows against the 20, right? And I was like, this thing's trying to break out, right? And then sure enough, I got shaken out. And then a few days later, it actually took off. But what else looked very similar to this? Well, you had Goldman Sachs look very similar to this, almost identical setup, right? Series of higher lows. And even the higher lows take place right around the exact same days. And then it takes off, right? You had BK, right? You had Wells Fargo, right? And they all had fairly similar setups. And then you can look at like some of the semiconductors, like whether it be your LRCX, where it just gets above the 200. Again, even their higher lows, even that kill candle takes place on the exact same days. And then you could look at a KLAC, right? Exact same setup. I mean, identical. Scratch the name. You might even be like, damn, those look very similar. Even your TSM, very similar. And then they all continue higher. Again, your AVGO, right? First they make their move up, and then they digest going sideways. So, and when you realize like, man, these things they've all gone up. They're all digesting. They're not just coming back. They're finding support on rising moving averages, and they're all in the same group. That should get your attention. If that doesn't get your attention, but what will people do? They think they've missed the move. And then all of a sudden, they're like, I missed it. It's already too far gone. Let me go look for the one that's lagging, like XYZ's got to play catch up, like A Lab. And then you just end up in this crap, right? It's like focus on the strongest ones, even stocks within the exact same group. Some are stronger than others. Oof, man, TTMI is out there. A little extended. This one had a nice little gap up on earnings. And then what did it do? It made a nice move up. Then what did it do? It went sideways. See how nice that was before it took off? Nice little flat pivot for 2 weeks. Yeah, OUST has been an absolute monster. I would hope for some more digestion personally. The longer this thing goes sideways, the better here. A little extended as well from the 50, right? I don't want to buy something that's up 50% from its 50. it moves 8% per day. That's like almost 7 times its average true range from the 50. This is more like in trim spot than it is in new buy spot. So let it go sideways for a little bit and then let the 50 catch up, and then it could be good. At this point, I'm just trailing. I mean, I'm going to consider trimming a little bit more into these gap ups. Anytime I get a gap up, I take some off. I took some off on Friday. I'll be taking off just a little bit, some more today. And that's about it. Just trailing it, man. My first buys on this thing were $62, 62.30, and then 63.86. And my lot assignment is last in, first out. So I'm really selling my 63.86s first. And, I have quite a few shares. So I've got a shitload of shares. So at this point, just trim a few more and then just let it work from there. Johnny, just letting it work. I don't know how big of a trend this can end up being. I don't know if this thing goes to 75, 80, 90, 100. I don't know. But, if it does, I'd like to have as many shares as possible for that. If ADR is low, should we go with a smaller stop or bigger size? No, your stop really shouldn't change. Your stop should be low of day or prior low of day or the pivot's low or a moving average low, the break of the moving average. You really only have a few choices because you're trading stocks and uptrends. So it's the moving average that you're using if it's nice and tight. It's the prior day's low because it's nice and tight. It's the pivot low because it's pretty close. That's how I was trading IBIT. So when I bought IBIT on the 9th, I was using the 7th low, right? So I was literally buying this 62.30. So right in here where this little horizontal line is. And I was, I had a 2% stop on it. So I wasn't using that day's lows. I was using 2-day prior's low. So effectively the pivot, every time this came down, it built a higher low. My assumption was the same about 7.7. So yeah, it depends. That doesn't necessarily mean I get too aggressive on sizing. It just means I know where my stop is at, and I have to kind of know with how much size I'm putting on, how much am I really risking. Hood looks fine. Hood looks fine. I wouldn't be adding here personally. This isn't a setup for me. Too extended. It's like 7 times its average true range from the 50. I just don't buy stocks this extended from the 50. I will, but I tamper my expectations because, again, like I said, you have to remember the biggest moves occur for stocks in leading groups. If it's not in a leading group, in a top 40 group, then, the likelihood is you're not going to get an awesome move. SMCI is fine, but it's kind of a laggard in the semi space. It is undergoing some nice accumulation, though. My guess is this thing could just keep grinding higher. But I look at price action like this and I go, does this look like any fun to be in? Like you look at this and you go, does this look fun to you? I don't hate MP, but I just don't love it either, right? Massive volume coming in on this thing, and it's just too big of a gap up. Too big of a gap up on kind of so-so news. Weekly looks great, but daily looks kind of like shit. Little extended, giant volume, upper wick. I mean, I don't know. Is it playable? For sure it is. What's the close here? 45.23. That's your spot. AOI looks pretty good. NEXT, your buy would have been on Friday. right out of this flat pivot. I bet on Thursday and was it Thursday? And Friday. Wednesday and Thursday. Friday was the gap up. All right, guys, I got to get ready for stream. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Guys, trade them well. Don't do anything crazy. Yeah, I'm looking to try and get repositioned in Amazon and potentially Google. So we'll keep kind of those back of mind today. So anyway, you guys trade them well, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you guys for being here.